The instruments in the violin family have a distinct sound created in large part by the type of strings they have. While there are strings made of synthetic materials or metals on the market, traditional strings are made of a specific part of a certain animal. Stay tuned for the details. Playing an instrument in the violin family takes guts, literally. That's because the instrument's 4 strings are made of sheep intestines. The 2 thinner higher note strings are made of plain gut. The 2 thicker lower note strings have a gut core wrapped in silver wire, then silk thread wound around the extremities. The intestines, each roughly 20 meters long, come from local slaughterhouses and arrive already emptied, cleaned, and salted. The first step is to soak them in cold water for 1 to 2 days. This starts a controlled, very smelly decomposition, which helps loosen up the intestines' components. Next, using half a piece of wood cane, the string maker scrapes off the outer layers of fat and mucosa membranes. Then, 5 times a day for a week, he softens the gut in an alkaline potash bath and pulls it against a handmade copper thimble. This gently scrapes away the waste remnants until the gut is a tube of pure, transparent muscle. At which point, he slices it with a splitting horn into 2 gut ribbons of differing widths. The thinner right one for making violin strings, the thicker left one for making cello and double bass strings. During the scraping phase, guts sometimes break apart. Rather than discard these pieces, the string maker knots them together to produce full-length strands. The string maker's assistants cut the gut ribbons into 7-meter lengths and bleach them for 4 days. This prevents the gut from turning brown. Then they count out the number of strands required to produce the various size strings, from 6 to make the thinnest violin string, all the way up to 120 to make the thickest double bass string. They tie the ends in a loop and hook them up to a twisting machine. Then turn the machine's crank and tightly twist the gut ribbons together to form one strong single string. Then, since the guts have begun to dry out a bit, they rehydrate the string to restore a consistent level of moisture. Then they twist it again and transfer it, along with additional strings, to a drying frame. There's no set drying time. They monitor each string individually around the clock. As a string dries, it shrinks in diameter, but grows in length, creating slack. So they repeatedly remove and retwist until it dries completely, at which point it stabilizes. This drying and retwisting process can take up to 7 days. The string is ready when it's hard and stiff and slightly yellowed. At that stage, they rub it with horsehair, the traditional equivalent of coarse sandpaper. It makes the string smooth and even throughout. Next, they fine polish the string with abrasive dried grass in a cloth that's been moistened with olive oil. Some string makers use almond oil and pumice or powdered glass as the abrasive. They sever the strings from the drying frame and cut them to standard lengths. These strings will be for a child-size violin, so they're 100 centimeters long. To produce the correct sounds, the instrument's 2 lower note strings must be considerably thicker than the others. The problem is, this thickness in gut alone would produce a dull sound. So they wrap the string in sterling silver wire, silver being 7 times denser than gut. This gives the string the right sound and a loud, brilliant tone with minimal thickness. Next, for decoration, they wrap the top and bottom of these gut core strings with silk thread. On a violin string, the silk runs about 1 centimeter long on each end. On a longer cello string like this one, about 5 centimeters. The finished string is ready to be inserted into its retail packaging. There are less expensive synthetic strings on the market. However, particularly for early music, many musicians prefer the sound and feel of traditional gut strings, made by hand today, just as they were centuries ago.